And I want to thank everyone for coming out this morning to join us on this momentous occasion for the official groundbreaking of the Gunnery Backstop World War II Memorial right here at BKV. Today, we will hear a little bit of history about the site and its importance during the war, as well as how we finally got to this point. We'll start the day with an invocation, so I'd like to ask Commissioner Alaco to join us and lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we gather today first to give you glory for who you are and for all you have created. Every day I stand in amazement when I look at the complexity of all your creation. This Monday we'll also be gathering in remembrance of all of those who have given themselves to serve in our military. Some sacrificed time, losing precious years with family. Others sacrificed their bodies, whether by limb, hearing, vision, or with lifelong mental struggles. And Lord, some gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Today, as we celebrate the groundbreaking of this memorial, a World War II Gunnery Backstop Memorial, I also bring to mind the ultimate sacrifice of the 33 young men who lost their lives training here in an air training mission. May God bless all who have contributed time, talent, and treasure to make this possible. And I pray this in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Sheriff Nienhuis, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? Thank you.
Let's go ahead and stand. And as we say the pledge, let's listen to a few of the words. This is our great flag, and it represents a great republic, and we are one nation. We are indivisible, and we are a nation that's under God. So let's say a pledge to our great flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I would like to recognize a few of our, or all of our elected officials and dignitaries here today. We have Anna Segovia from Congressman Gus Bilirakis' office. We have, thank you, Alyssa Nienhuis from Representative Holcomb's office. Of course, we saw just a moment ago Commissioner Alaco. Thank you for joining us. We have former State Representative and County Commissioner Dave Russell in the audience today. I'd also like to recognize our County Administrator, Jeff Rogers. Thank you. So, about 2 years ago, Don Etchison, pilot, tenant, and quite the historian, came to our office and said, we have this idea. I have an idea to memorialize the bunker as we knew it, right? And we came to learn that it's really a gunnery backstop. So Don said, I think we can make this happen and make this really something special for the airport and for the community. So it was a journey. But it was a journey that started not just with Don's vision, but also 30 or 40 years ago with the vision of people who really were the folks who started the airport and started this whole technology center. And it just took a minute, 30 or 40 years, but it took a bit for us to get to this point. And we're reaching a lot of dreams for people who are still here and some who aren't and some we carry in our memory. So it's a beautiful thing to see this happen. But it took the passion and it took the perseverance of Don Etchison to really make this happen. He has the stick-to-itiveness and the gumption to get out there. So much so, yes, I agree, so much so that I've made him a verb. And so when Don comes to visit you and he asks you for a donation or for your time, you'll know that you've been Etchisoned when you're out here in the blazing sun. You know what's happened to you, so remember you've been Etchisoned. With that in mind, I'd like to invite Don up here to share a few words about the project.
Thank you for those nice words, Valerie. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. It's been really one of these projects where when you get involved with it, all the people that you meet and all the contributions and the friendship and the support, it's been a wonderful thing, and you gain so much more than you give. But what I want to do this morning, I thought I'd try something novel, and I want to speak as if I'm the bunker. I want to speak for the bunker, for the gunnery backstop. I've been here for 82 years. I was put into operation in November 1942. And I've seen a lot over this period of time. back in the early years, during the war years, it was an amazing place to be. There were bombers filling the sky here. If we would have been here 80 years ago, 82 years ago, right over there would have been a B-17 bomber chained down, shooting bullets into me right here into targets. That was my purpose. And I relished the purpose that I had. I played a role in this magnificent facility out here that was played out all across Florida. Florida turned into a giant air base to help win the war in Europe. And we're coming up to D-Day here shortly, 80 years later, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for all the air training that happened throughout the state of Florida. There were thousands and thousands of young men involved in that, airplanes, and a government that was really had a great strategy on what we had to do to win the war. But in that time period, it was a magnificent thing. The young men came from all over the United States here to Brooksville. They'd been working in the cornfields of Iowa or Illinois or wheat fields of Nebraska, and they came to Brooksville to learn how to be a bomber crew. And they had a job to do. And they were all in a hurry, and it was a dangerous, dangerous occupation to learn how to do that. If you just think about it, flying a giant plane with four engines. And as I've sat here over this period, I saw the crash of October 3rd, 1943, where one of the bombers went down after takeoff over by where the target is. There were two mid-air collisions right over here, and I witnessed that. Then, after those heydays of the war where I played my role as a gunnery backstop, and you can see some of my wounds that I had, the bullet holes up here along the face. And at that time, I had wood across the front of me. And this is a shell casing of a 50 caliber bullet, what was shot into here. And these things are very, very hardy, to say the least. All the military people would know that. But if we shot one of those 50 caliber bullets from here out of the bomber, it would go all the way to Brooksville, 5 miles. That's how powerful they were. And that's why you see all these bullet holes in here. It wasn't that they were a bad shot, they were calibrating the guns. But so the airport was much different then. There was a dirt road that came in here from Brooksville. None of this was here. So as I've sat here for 80 years after my service was over and the airport became part of Brooksville, we became very agrarian again with cattle and farming out here. And I just sit here. And it was that way for quite a while, and then in the 60s and the 70s, things started to change a little bit. There were still airplanes coming in here. And there was a man named Sam Pearson in the 70s that decided, I think we can do some development out of this facility here. And he started building buildings here, and you see what we have now, and it's been a magnificent transformation. And two of Sam Pearson's sons are here today, Rick and Steven. And could you raise your hand, you two guys? And they know the history of this place about as better as anyone. In fact, when I'm here, I recognize these guys from being like 30 and 40 years ago when they were young guys out here drinking a can of beer at night or something when this was very agrarian. So, and then I became really run down in the 70s and 80s. And I used to have wood around the front of it, beams for the bullets. And all that stuff fell down and the steel holding it. And thanks to Rick Pearson, he came out and with a crew and cleaned me up a little bit. And then people that drive by here after we've got Spring Hill Drive in the 70s, and now, amazing, it's a four-wheel lane. People did not know what I am, and they still don't know what I am. And that's part of what we're doing here today. And I'm glad you're doing it so people will know what I am. One person called it the hill in Spring Hill, and that's what it was. But I think I'm very proud to have played the role I have, and now that I can be a memorial for those that fought and served here in World War II and for all veterans. And I'll wear this mantle for the second part of my career, or third part. The first part would have been my active military. The second part would have been what I was calling myself a silent sentinel. A sentinel is the person that, or a thing in my case, that stands watch or guard and doesn't really say anything. So for the longest time, I've been a silent sentinel just sitting here on Spring Hill Drive, waiting for this day to come where I can be memorialized and pay tribute to everything that's happened here. And I look forward to being the next 80 years of being a monument that is known and an iconic place in Spring Hill and Brooksville, and for people to come here and know what happened in World War II and can appreciate the contribution of all the young men and women that have served our country and are continuing to serve the country now. So that's on behalf of the bunker. Now, I've just been one person involved in this, and there's so many to thank, but my colleague in this project has been Ed Hoffman. And Ed is over here. He has an illustrious career both as an architect and as a pilot in Florida. And he's known throughout the state. And he's a second generation Ed Hoffman. His dad was in the Army Air Force, in the 8th Air Force, and served and flew missions in Europe. So no one better to appreciate this project than Ed. And this is his work over here that you'll see what we're going to transform the project into. And so Ed has been a member. His dad founded the Florida Aviation Historical Society, and Ed's just been involved in all kinds of things aviation. And we're so fortunate to have had him involved in this project, and he's been a dear friend and colleague. So please welcome Ed Hoffman.
I'll try to be brief because I know the sun is shining well in Florida this morning. Don Etchison came to me a while back and started talking about this. He said, hey, it's the 80th birthday of the airport. We should do something to celebrate it. And this building, working on this structure, explaining what it is to the community would be a really great thing, bring it back to life. And and I thought, well, that's great. And having listened to a lot of stories from my father, as Don said, was in England for 3.5 years during the war and knew a lot about this space. He grew up in St. Petersburg, and so this is home territory, more or less, to him. And we had done a lot of test flying of our airplanes here. Brooksville has a wonderful long runway with nothing around at that time when we were doing our test flights of his airplanes that he designed and built. But anyway, I started thinking about this more and more as we're designing and trying to figure out how we're going to display and tell the story of how the runway came through here, taxiway, and lines up. It's kind of where the post office buildings are back there where they chain the airplanes down. How we're going to tell that story. And so the idea here, design-wise, is to bring you actually into the bunker, to leave the sand where it is. Actually, there'll be some more coming back in because that's part of the story. And so we can bring people in on that. You'll see the V. We're going to funnel people into the display area up there. But it got to think more and more about that was that, Don, there are a lot of people that were killed here on this airport, training. And those of you who maybe have watched Masters of the Air know some of the intensity of those pilots that were flying in Europe without very good odds. And a lot of them came from this base here. So it's not just an informational thing about what the hill of Spring Hill is, but it's also about becomes a memorial to those brave fellows that took on the mission of protecting our democracy. And so with that, I wanted to also mention a couple of, there's a lot of people that ended up being involved, but I don't know if Cliff Emanuel is here from Coastal. Oh, Cliff's here. Cliff has architecturally given me 2 very nice jobs over here at Anderson Snow, and then we're doing the memorial down here at Memorial Park. Two wonderful jobs, and I get paid for them, actually. So to reward him, I gave him this pro bono job. Said, Cliff, will you do our engineering work to make sure all the drainage and all that stuff is right? And he, without hesitation, Cliff at Coastal and his firm has pulled through and really worked out some great things. The next piece is who are we going to get? We need a contractor to do this thing, make it turn into reality. This is all just paper right now, but we need some people to make it happen. And of course, we see these Pelican construction signs everywhere around the airport. And so we went over to Rick's office, talked to Rick, and poor Rick had been through this routine before. He was rather skeptical, and I said, yeah, but these other guys were good, but they didn't have a Don Etchison. He said, you don't know Don Etchison yet. When you get to know Don, you'll know this project is going to happen. And so Don has this wonderful way he's a sweetheart of a guy, but he has this way of just making things happen. You know, he'll give you a call, he'll give you an email, he'll whatever. How are we doing? How are we doing? And so, he's such a sweetheart that you got to say, oh, we're working on it, we're getting it done. And of course we did. And so I want to thank Don, and I want to thank Rick and his firm, and Cliff, and all the others that worked on this thing. And I'm really just proud to just be a small part of it. And so I'm looking forward to the groundbreaking. Get a little bit of the design, the propeller idea. There's going to be a B-17 propeller sitting here. My dad designed a memorial in England, which I'll be going back to in November for their Veterans Day over there to rededicate and lay wreaths at the air base he was at. And they used a P-38 propeller because they were a photo recon outfit where they used a lot of P-38s. And so all of this is, I just wish my dad was here to be able to talk more about the history of this base, because he knew a lot about it. And of course, I was just a kid. I wasn't listening. Anyway, with all of that, thank you very much, Don. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Cliff. And Valerie. Valerie, every once in a while I get a good hug from Valerie, and that makes it all worth it.
Whatever it takes. All right. Many thanks, Ed and Don, both of you. Out of curiosity, and maybe through a show of hands, how many veterans do we have in our audience today? Thank you. Thank you for your service. At this time, I'm going to invite Commissioner Alaco back up to say a few words.
I heard there were a few states that were trying to claim that they were the sunshine states. I think today proves that we are it. Boy, it is warm out today. What I want to do is I always want to give thanks. First and foremost, where are the Pearsons again? Thank you. Thank you for your vision years ago to retain this, because we live in a society, unfortunately, that doesn't really have a whole lot of interest in history many times, and we forget history really quickly, and then we wonder why we repeat it. So thank you for the foresight. And I want to thank Don again for having for reinvigorating this idea, coming before the Board of County Commissioners with this idea, obviously before that to Valerie and other staff members. So I want to thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman, for your design. Are there any Hernando County staff members that have been a part of this? Could you please raise your hand? Thank you. Raise your hands if you've been a part of this. It's important to recognize them because they don't always get a chance to come behind a microphone. So thank you. What I'd like to do is just name off some of the people who have contributed to this project, because this project, again, is going to give our future generations an opportunity to understand the hands-on manual portion of, unfortunately, war and what it means. Because we're in such a technologically advanced society that our children or our grandchildren, they think that these things are all played behind a video screen with a joystick and a button, and it's not really the way it is or was. We've got some in-kind sponsors. Obviously, Hoffman Architects. If you can just raise your hand again for everybody. Thank you. Coastal Engineering. Thank you. Proud Pelican Construction. Thank you, sir. CMEX. Where's James? Thanks, James. Day Metal Products. Anyone here from Day? Well, thank you. American Aviation. Thank you. Accuform. Thank you very much. Hernando County Veterans Council. A&K Lighting. Thank you. And we're going to go through some of the financial sponsors because, the in-kind is awesome. We appreciate that, but we also, obviously, there's a cost to all of this. So, PEM Air Turbine Engine Services, where are you? Put your hand up. If someone here, they're not here, so we're really going to embarrass them. $35,000 to this project. Thank you. Flight Path Aviation Services, thank you. Give Well, thank you. Composite Motors Incorporated, if you're here, thank you. If you're not, thank you anyway. Uradco, thank you for your financial contribution. Pearson Industries, thank you again. Frank Bonamani, thank you. RJM Solutions, thank you. John Mitten, thank you. I know you like to be quiet, but we appreciate all you do in our community. Emery Thompson Machine, thank you. Centennial Bank, thank you. I appreciate everybody coming out here today. It's hot, I realize it. It's Florida and this almost summer. But this is, like I said, very important to the future of our community, to our future generations. It's important to those who lost members of their family to our armed force services. Monday we'll be celebrating Memorial Day, and it's important for us to remember that it's not just a day you get off of work or out of school. Okay, it's a time for us to remember those who gave their sacrifice, their time, their talents, and sometimes their lives. And one more time, I'd like to, if we can, please just give a big applause for all of those who have had members of their family who've been in the military, lost a family member to the military, or are currently serving. So thank you one more time. I appreciate everybody coming out today. I thank you so much. I am so excited to see this project come to its conclusion, to its final resting place here. This backstop is never going to come down. It would have probably been taken down anywhere else, and it stayed here in Hernando County because of the vision of those people I mentioned. I appreciate everybody's time, their talent, their energy for coming out today, and I thank all of those, again, who will be part of the construction of this process. You have a blessed day.
Thank you, Commissioner Alaco. This would still be a dream if it wasn't for the generosity of our community. I want to remind everyone we're not done raising funds. There's a QR code. There's a FlyBKV website, and we still need your help. We want to do a few more things at this site, so if you have the ability and the means, that would be wonderful. I'd like to thank our musicians today for coming out. And I hope to see all of you out here in a few months when we have a ribbon cutting for this memorial. So now it's time for the official groundbreaking. And if I could have some folks from Proud Pelican, Coastal, any of our other in-kind sponsors, Mr. Rogers, and some staff, Don, of course, Ed. Let's grab our shovels and toss the dirt.
Thank you.